This conference will now be recorded.
Order. The first one will be the invocation with John Schaefer from the Discovery Church.
Thank y'all. Thank you. Try to be quick. You know how preachers are. So I've said this before, last couple of years I've been coming in here. I want to thank y'all for continuing to start your town business with prayer. Our government was originally started right out of the Bible. A lot of people think there should be a total separate thing, but our American history says that. And I was reading last week in Revelation 1:6, and in 5 it was talking about Jesus. It was saying Jesus is the person done this, and 6 says Jesus and hath made us kings and priests unto God and his Father. To him be the glory and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Like kings and priests unto God, what does that mean? It could mean a couple things, but then I found what it meant to America, to the settlers in Jamestown, 1607. This meant that the leaders and the priests were interchangeable. I didn't know that. They spent so much time in the Bible every day that somebody might be the governor or the mayor one year, and they might be the pastor the next. They were interchangeable roles. So the Bible was always in that. Anyway, at Jamestown, on the beach of Cape Henry, much like Surfside, they come in, they get off the ship, and the first thing they did was built a cross on the beach right there, and they dedicated the land to the Lord. The church at that time was the center of all the community. You don't believe these people were devout Christians, just read the Virginia Charter of 1607. It says, God hereafter tend to the glory of his divine majesty and propagating of Christian religion to such people as yet live in darkness and miserable ignorance. So they came here because they knew there were people here who didn't know the gospel of Jesus Christ, and their life purpose for coming here, coming here was to tell them. So to all you who have served this year, every one of you up there, I just want to thank you. You could have easily just stayed out of the spotlight and local government altogether, but you didn't. You chose to actually step up and serve our town to the best of your ability with the vision you thought would be best for Surfside. And for that, I thank you all. I always remember in my life this quote: the only thing necessary for evil to triumph is for good men to do nothing. So I thank you guys for not doing nothing and doing something, every one of you. Let us pray. Father God, I pray for this council meeting tonight. Please give these council members wisdom and guidance as they work on the business before them this week. God, I pray that every decision be righteous in your sight for our benefit and for your glory. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Amen.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next I'll entertain any motions relating to the agenda.
Mr. Mayor. Never mind. Go ahead. You want to make it? You want a motion? No, nothing. Go ahead.
Okay, if there's no motions relating to the agenda, the next thing will be the minutes approval, and that's for October 10th, 2023.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve October 10th, 2023 regular meeting.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion about the minutes before we vote on it? Sherry?
Mr. Drake?
Yes.
Mr. Holder?
Yes.
Mrs. Keating?
Yes.
Mr. Keegan?
Yes.
Mr. Crackwell?
Yes.
Mr. Stamey?
Yes.
Mayor Hellier?
Yes. All right, the next thing is public comments, and these are public comments relating to agenda items. And any speaker would have 5 minutes only.
Harry Coleman, 10th Avenue North. I want to talk about the decision paper, installation of cameras at the pier property. I just want to thank the council first for turning down the first proposal of 57 cameras at the pier. Now they've dropped 2/3 to 19. I'm just curious if we really need 19 for the pier. I'm all for technology. I was in the New York City Police Department. We use cameras. It's a pier. I don't know what they expect is going to happen on the pier. I don't understand why they need 19 cameras. And I believe it's $60,000. $60,000, which breaks down to over $3,100 a camera. I just see a decision paper. It doesn't have much information on it. I hope that you guys, you folks got more than this. If this is what you're gonna vote on, is there a schematic of the drawing of where they're gonna put the cameras to see that we really need that many cameras? I just don't understand why they told you 57 and then they brought it down to 19. I would love, if I was on council, I would want to see where each camera was going to be and why they need 19 cameras. It's an awful lot of money. And was there any bids for this? This is the information that you should have. I don't know if you do, but we should have. We should know if there were bids out there. There's not much more, not much information on this decision paper. It's like a half a page, a little bit more, 3/4 of a page for $60,000. Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to come up and talk?
I would.
Yes, sir.
I'm John Hyatt from 515 Lakeshore Drive in Surfside Beach. You know, as I watched the pier being built and I saw the railings finally going up the stairs, and I thought we're getting close to the end, and the stairs look pretty beautiful. And then all of a sudden a report came out and said there was something wrong with the stairs, and I thought to myself, how can those beautiful set of stairs have something wrong with them? So I decided to make a FOIA request to find out what was wrong with the stairs. And I got the report. It's 40 pages, and it's by Collins Engineers. And I can't read the whole thing in a few minutes, but I'd like to pull out a few excerpts. Collins Engineers performed a site visit on August 24th and noted multiple issues with the construction of the monumental stair railings. The installation was not in compliance with design documents, showed significant deformation and damage due to improper construction means and methods, and non-conformance with previously reviewed shop drawings. The monumental stair railing is to be completely removed, remanufactured, recoated, and replaced. All related work is to be completed at no additional cost due to the contractor's failure to conform with the contract documents. Goes on to say, it is Collins' observation that all warranties have been voided due to installation practices. Consensus Construction must complete the following in part. All railings are to be removed. They cannot be reused. All anchorage systems are to be removed. All damaged concrete is to be repaired. Consensus is to have new fabrication and coating completed that is compliant with the design documents. Upon approval of shop drawings and subsequent receipt of the newly fabricated handrails, Consensus shall install the new handrails per the construction documents. Consensus shall make no substitutions or alterations without written approval of the engineer or architect of record. Frankly, I was appalled by this writing. And it goes on to detail in drawings what's wrong. And then it talks about the violations of the contract. And then it goes on to show pictures. And the pictures are astounding. There's welds in here that a high school child could have done better. And you guys have your name on the pier as having built it. And this is your work. I am appalled as a citizen of this town. Thank you very much.
Is there anybody else who would like to come up and Okay, moving right along, the next thing is in the communications, and we'll have an update on the pier. And it says that Zane Peterson is supposed to give us the update on the pier, but it doesn't look like he is here this evening. So, and also just so that everybody knows, Jerry is not here. Our town administrator is not here this evening, but he is online. So I guess we're gonna pass the pier update because we don't have Zane Peterson here. Next thing on the agenda is,
Mr. Mayor, before we finish, can we not ask, our administrator if he knows anything about why Zane ain't here, since he is online?
I had talked to him earlier and he asked me if he was here and I said no. So he's under the impression, like the rest of us, that he was gonna be here.
well, if Mr. Peterson shows up, we will address it when he gets here.
Okay.
Okay? Next thing is Creech and Associates by Brent Green and Rusty Miller. Presentation on the architectural work.
Brent Green is not here either. I'm Rusty Miller from Creech and Associates, and I'm here to represent the findings in the study. First of all, thank you all for allowing us to be here and present our findings. We came here over the summer to speak with all of you, town staff, police department, fire department, courts, and put together what is phase 1 of phase 2 of this project and this study. So what we're going to go over tonight is phase 1, which is the buildings program for the administration of town hall, the chamber and the courts, as well as the police department. So with that, I will get into the first summary of the town hall. You see there blueprints of the existing building, and we've highlighted the departments that are within the facility. It represents how much square footage you're currently using with the existing staff and offices, and first floor and second floor. You also see there is 10,630 gross square feet in the current town hall. We'll get to the full program eventually, but the summary is the proposed town hall staff would be 14,557 feet, and that accounts for current needs as well as growth over the next 20 years. We did a similar exercise for the Public Safety Center, and that includes everything that's currently on this side of the street, which is the police station as well as the civic annex. So that houses both the chamber and the courts, of course, and the police station. You can see this is more drastically undersized for current and future needs based on what you're in now, which is 8,870 gross square feet. The proposed municipal complex, including 20 years worth of gross, says that in 20 years you will need 22,048 square feet. And we write that down a little bit later to show exactly what is needed now versus what that 20-year growth will be. But that's the summary in the beginning.
They're having a hard time hearing you.
You can't hear it, and
Okay.
plus we can't see it either.
Should have been some handouts.
Apologies for that.
You can make it bigger, you can,
Yeah, I mean, we can go.
Turn off the light too.
Yeah.
Turn out the lights.
So as we said, we were here back in the summer to interview staff of the police department, the chamber and the courts personnel, as well as the town hall administrative staff. We then took current population and a number of other metrics that we use, and that allows us to forecast potential growth for the community in the town. We use that forecasting to get to those numbers and the 20-year projection that we mentioned earlier. So last year, South Carolina demographics estimate, the town of Surfside Beach population was 4,280 square feet. These are a number of the metrics that we use to gauge population, and you'll see in the left, this is where you were in 2010, 2020, and that allows us to gain an annual factor of growth based on all of these different metrics, census, South Carolina demographics, 10-year number increase, and population projection. So we forecast that in 5-year increments out 20 years to land at what these forecast metrics picture the town will be at in 2043.
What was the percent, total percentage increase?
So an annual, we essentially take the average of all these to come up with a number, and it's a 0.36 annual factor increase. So, correct. So you see that in 5-year increments from there, 2043, landing at 4,511 full-time occupants, full-time residents. For the building itself, we use a number of terms that starts with a net assignable area. That's taking individual offices. And if these people need 120 square feet offices, these people need 160 square foot offices, we add all of that up, that gets us the net assignable area. You then zoom out one step into a department suite, so that allows for circulation within a suite, areas, common areas within the offices and things like that. That gets you to the net usable area. You then put those suites together into a gross square foot, and that is the full building size. And those are the numbers that we reviewed on the first slide, and it will break down further as we get into each program. To arrive at these, the net usable square footage, we have a number of space standards. You'll see typical meeting spaces, the chamber and court, and this is not a design of what this one will look like. These are just standards to give you an idea of what we're looking at for different spaces, and the fact that we do these for municipalities all over the Carolinas. We use these typical blocks when we're at this stage of the planning to arrive at the program and to get us a size for what eventually becomes the building blocks of the end facility. That goes from common areas like the chamber and the conference room to open workspaces and individual offices. And when you get down to typical offices, the department heads and few select throughout the town administrative staff will have the largest, what we call a level A office. And then as you get down to throughout the staff, you have a private office module of 180, 150, 120, all the way down to open workspaces, which could be 100 or 64 square feet modules that you can pair together for open work bullpens and things like that for people that don't need an individual office. Same for conference rooms, typical large, medium, and small conference rooms. A number of the amenities that we typically see in a combined chamber and court space like we would have here. And that gets us to the program itself for the town hall. So this is the summary for the town hall itself. You see it broken down as admin, finance, planning, building, and zoning. Excuse me. Police actually has a few offices now in the existing town hall space, and then shared support that's used by the entire building. That total is 10,630 square feet. And one thing that we have been working on for this is you saw that plan earlier that had all of the yellow in the original blueprint, and then the colors were broken out for the department. Because that building was originally designed for multiple tenants, it's not the most efficient use of space for the town. So you see our net usable square foot is 5,527. The core service, which ends up being the stairs, the restrooms, and all of that circulation space between, is 5,100. So that gets you to the 10,630. Your current proposed area for current needs only, based on interviews and forecasting, is 13,293 square feet. And the future proposed area, when we're looking to that 20-year metric gets us to 14,557, and that's where we arrive at that percentage growth increase that we mentioned earlier.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Mr. Mayor, we're a 1.9 square mile town. That's never gonna change. You know, it's highly unlikely, you know, we would be successful in annexing any of our neighbors. It was tried decades ago, and, you know, it went no further than the 1.9 square miles. How do you justify a 50% increase in town hall needs to serve the same footprint that we have today? I mean, right now, we've got 4,200 permanent residents here. I think at last count, we only have maybe 30 undeveloped lots. And whether those become, you know, rentals or full-time residents, you know, you're talking, what, another 120 people possibly could be living there, maybe more. So and even if we are full to capacity, what does your evaluation say, you know, how do we grow personnel in town hall? I mean, I don't see the correlation with the number of employees we have to the number of residents we have, because the same functions are still happening. We're still servicing the same 1.9 square miles. You know, we might need a couple additional people in sanitation if we've got considerable more houses to service with, you know, garbage and trash pickup. But, you know, that certainly doesn't lead to a 50% growth in the size of town hall.
Based on our interviews and what we've talked to town staff about their needs now, what they're in is not sufficient for their daily function. So that's what leads you to the current proposed area, which is a 3,000 square foot, so approximately 50%, like you said. And then the extra 1,000 square feet is for 20 years of growth, and that 0.3% population increase. And where that comes in terms of land or land use, that is not in this metric. It's just based on potential and projected growth. But the area right now is saying that in order for town staff to function as they see fit for the administrative in each department, this is what would be required, or this is what would be more appropriate for their use.
Well, and they already have, you know, 2-3 times as much space as they had in the original town hall to start with, and they maintained that for decades. So I'm just not clear why all of a sudden, you know, we've tripled the space almost of town hall from what we had across the street. Why all of a sudden do we need another 50% on top of that to serve our needs for today, when they've been functioning perfectly fine for decades in a much smaller space anyway?
The other portion of this that talks part of the space in town hall is, like I said, the net to gross ratio of the existing town hall is 51.9%. It's just not an efficient layout, and that's part of what this is reflecting. Industry standard, as you see, is 35%. And if you apply that to the building that's over there now, that gets you to 12,929 square feet, which is not quite what your current needs are, but is much closer and would be much more efficient than the current layout. Any other questions before we keep going?
Thank you.
Of course. Sorry, like I said, this does include administration, finance, planning, building and zoning, and police, which is now removed from that, assuming that they will all be back within one facility, and the shared support. This is another example of the metrics that we saw earlier for the growth. applied to the administration's forecasts specifically. So 10 years ago, they had 8 staff. They currently have 8 staff. And when you project growth for the population of what we saw in the forecasting earlier, these are the metrics that show what the administration department would grow to over the next 20 years.
Can you blow that up a little bit? So we can
Sure.
see that? One more person.
So, and we take those averages just like we did above for the forecasting, and the number of staff are here across the bottom. So we currently have 9. 20 years out, we have room for one more staff in just the administrative department itself. This is a number of all the different
Can you
positions.
continue to enlighten it so we can all see it?
If I get it much wider, it's gonna be. All right, that's about as wide as I can go. So that breaks down the individual space needs for the administrative department itself. You'll see you have 1 deputy town administrator and 1 future position office. Support spaces for that department as well. We did the same for finance. It went from 4 to 5. You can see here is 1 future position and their support staff as well. The reception desk, file room, and copy work. Planning, building, and zoning increased by 1 staff as well. Theirs is a 100 square foot open office layout. And the shared support that's just needed for the building and the entire staff of the town hall. That's town hall, getting into police, chamber and court, and their shared support. As we said, right now, it's currently 8,870 square feet just between these 2 facilities. The current proposed area needed, when you bring that down to gross square footage, is 21,000 square feet. And when you project out 20 years, it's 22,000 square feet. This does reflect the deficit that they currently have now with their facility. Unlike the town hall, especially when you go to the police station, they're using every square inch essentially of their facility. So their core would be much lower. But that means that in order to bring it up to current standards, it's a much larger increase. But because of the nature of the workings of their day-to-day, the 20-year growth for them does not require as much space because this includes all of the additional support and training and other spaces that they need now. The majority of what they would be adding in the future would be patrol staff and things like that that don't account for space within the actual building. So they're at 26 right now, projecting them out 20 years, got them to 30 using the same metrics. A summary of theirs. So they did have 2 additional offices for future staff, as well as 2 investigations, and then the 2 patrol officers that, like I said, would not have an actual space within the building, so their square footage is zeroed out. It wouldn't affect long-term square footage now. Police admin, including lobby, command staff, restroom, patrol room, kitchen break room, things like that. They're just for the staff in general of the police, lockers, showers, things like that. One of the biggest changes since we were here in June is this entire area that you see here in blue has been added since our staff interviews were conducted. We understand that there was an agreement originally with Myrtle Beach for holding, and because that's no longer the case, this is what would be required to bring that use here. So in talking to Chief Hoffman, we've discussed, I know there's lots of different options about continuing to transport, but if you elect to do holding in as part of a potential future facility, these are the spaces that would be needed. So we left these highlighted as potential discussion topics. It includes 4 holding departments, 2 male, 1 female, and then a separate juvenile, as well as the secure vestibule, interview room, the toxilizer, and prisoner toilet and things like that, that all have to go into that. Police support. The evidence at the existing facility is vastly undersized, so that's part of, that's most of what makes up this area. And then exterior spaces, secure parking, large evidence drop off, and large items storage on the exterior of the building. Getting into the council chamber and court. So a 2,500 square foot court and chamber, excuse me, with a pre-function space, jury deliberation, judges chambers, council chamber, that should say restroom, sorry, council chamber, courtroom and restroom, furniture storage, and an AV closet are all the self-contained uses of the combo chamber and courtroom, and that totals 4,100 square feet.
Excuse me,
Yes, sir.
how many people could that handle?
It's designed for 75. And that's just public seating. That doesn't include the bench and the. Forecasting for courtroom admin, we're at 2 now, 20 years out. They foresee adding 1 more. And that's just the addition of 1 120 square foot office. We have a judge, clerk of court, and then the required file room there. Shared support for the for this portion, entrance lobby, restrooms, citizen contact room, which is a meeting room out by the lobby, so you don't have to take someone back into the secure space. Training room, and a fitness center that was intended to be shared for all town employees. The next point of discussion that we got to, there was a great deal of discussion with a number of staff about the need for an EOC. So we have all of the information here that would entail, including furniture storage and a small conference room, but these are not included in the projections in the square footage. So this is what it would add, which is 1,500 square feet, but they are not included in the current program. They are all zeroed out. It's just, it was a point of discussion when we were here for the interview, so we want it to be reflected here in the program, but they are not in the current numbers. And that is the end of the program itself. Happy to answer any other questions.
You included in the police department room for showers and a weight room, exercise room.
Correct.
Could they not use the one in the fire department? We have male, female showers over there. They have 2 exercise rooms that they use. I mean, that's, it's not like you're having to go across town to do it. It's right next door.
That's correct. And that was a point of discussion as well. It was requested by the police department, so that was something that was included in here.
Okay.
And like we said, that, the EOC, anything else that doesn't want, should you decide to move forward with any kind of new facility, these are just the building blocks that can go in. This is where the square footage is right now. If you elected to take out that square footage and just use the one at the fire department, that's certainly an option as well.
Our main emphasis on police department and the courtroom council chambers. We have no intentions, or we can't do anything with town hall for years. I mean, it's be great, but that's not feasible at this point. So what's the next step?
So this is designed to be just the program, which is essentially the building blocks that lead to our next step, which will be design studies. And in doing that, we'll look at what we can do across at current town hall, what we could fit there, what it would look like to do a portion over there, a portion here, or move everything across over here. The point is to come up with those options, see how we can test fit them, and make all of these building blocks work together. Work with town staff to come up with preferred design options, and then essentially send that out to cost estimating, so we can see the impact on all of those options. And that will be our next, that'll be phase 2 of this study essentially. So this gets us to where we need to be to see what those facilities would be and what each of those options put together would look like. Once we arrive at those options, we'll send them out for cost estimating, and then we'll come back and present all of that in each of the different options.
As you already told, we do not, we may grow to 4,500 full-time residents, but we're still 1.9 miles. So our growth is not going to be, I don't think in the administrative side is going to be as much as what you forecasted. I was surprised you had 4 people in accounting. Now I don't know that we have 4 people, but maybe a shared responsibility. But anyway, I just don't see that there's going to be a lot of growth personnel wise in this town. Staff level. I just don't see it, but I'm very interested in what you're going to come up with for the police department and courtroom council chamber, because it's sorely needed.
Mr. Mayor, and I'm gonna jump on Mr. King's back here the same way. Our town hall for right now is functional. We can stay in the town hall we're in. I think our main concern for us is, for me anyway, I don't know if I can speak for the rest of them, but for me, is the police department and the court chambers. That's where our focus needs to be on. And I hope that the citizens who are here understand right now how bad our system, or how bad it is for the police station and court system. That's the reason we're doing this. This is the reason we're putting out this study. And that's where I want the focus of y'all to be, is for that area, for that facilities, because we need that. That's something we need. We can work with what we got with town hall for many years, because even if we add 1 person, if we get the police department back out of that building, you've got 400 square foot there that you can pick back up for 1 other person. So that's where I'm coming from.
And that was reflected in the first couple, as like you see that there's only marginal growth that's required for the current function of town hall. But that was very different than the current function of the police and the court.
Yes.
So going from 8 to 22 instead of from 5 to 8 is a big difference. So we're in agreement there, and this reflects that.
Now, I know that when we spoke earlier, and I spoke with Jerry, and Jerry said that there are gonna be two presentations. Tonight is just a presentation with no vote or whatever. But based on what you told us tonight, in order to do the police part of it, do you have an estimate on the total cost?
We do not have any cost estimates as part of this exercise. This is just the programming and forecasting that gets us to what's needed in those. Our next step is going to be putting together those design options or those site layouts, and that will be tied to a cost estimate.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, have you got a timeline so that we know when you're gonna be back?
That's up to Mr. Vincent and you guys and when you'd like to see us back.
Okay.
Like I said, we can come back and discuss this further now. Once this is ready to move into phase 2, then we'll start on the design options, and I think we'll probably have about 4 to 6 weeks of design options and going back and forth with town staff. Once we arrive at those options, we'll send it out to pricing, which will take approximately 4 weeks.
Well, you're only dealing with a small part of the staff.
People in the back can't hear. You gotta talk
Could you
into the
bring the mic
microphone.
closer to you?
Okay. You're only dealing with a small part of the staff, police department, courtroom, and the council chamber, which we don't have offices, so that's fine.
Mhm.
So those are the areas you need to concentrate on, in my opinion. And that is my opinion. That's, I mean, if you want to talk to Public Works, that's fine, but he doesn't have space in these 2 buildings that we're talking about.
Okay, we'll get together with Jerry and let him know what's going on and let Jerry get in touch with him.
Okay.
About what further steps to take.
Okay, great.
And just for the audience, I just texted Jerry to ask him about Zane Peterson and whether he's gonna be here tonight for the pier thing. And basically, just so that everybody knows, that earlier today, some employees tested positive for COVID. So Kenny Hoffman is not here. John Adair is not here because they posted positive. And I think that Jerry has the symptoms, but Jerry hasn't been tested. And Jerry thought it was on the side of caution that he not show up tonight. So we're gonna have to do some of these things later when things get dissolved on it. Because we do need to, like on the cameras, we need information on it from the police and from John Adair. And with Creech and Associates, we need stuff from Jerry on that too. So they're gonna be moved on and we will have further discussions. Excuse me, the new council will have further discussions on this.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make an offer for anybody that would like to see our study. That maybe you contact town hall or put it online for y'all to look at these studies. I've got one here that if anybody wants to look at, I'm willing to give it up and let you look at it. I don't care. I can get another one. So if anybody here thinks that we're doing anything wrong and wants to look at this.
Sherry just told me that she is going to put the presentation online. So it'll be on so that anybody can go and read it and copy it if they want.
That'll give y'all a better idea of what's here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next thing is under the business section, and it's A 23015665, resolution, workplace safety. And there is a resolution to promote workplace safety. It says, whereas the mayor and town council recognize that the prevention of accidents and promotion of workplace safety affects employees, property, and the public, and that promoting the workplace safety will enhance the operating efficiency of the town government. And whereas a protective safety emphasis posture requires that safety training be provided for employees, and that the sound procedures are in place to protect employees and the equipment is primary consideration and takes precedence over expediency in all operations. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Surfside Beach will endeavor to provide a safe work environment that is free and of recognized hazards through the establishment and implementation of safety policies and procedures, which subsequent amendments and additions designed to provide protection to employees, its citizens, public and private property, and the general public. Now therefore, it be further resolved that the town of Surfside Beach will support compliance with all federal and state safety regulations, provide the use of personal protective equipment by all employees, and ensure that all employees are advised and understand their safety responsibilities in the performance of their work. Be it so resolved, signed and sealed this 24th day of October, and that's the mayor and council.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to accept resolution 23-0165 to promote workplace safety for the year of 2023, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? Sherry?
Mr. Drake,
Yes.
Mr. Holder,
Yes.
Mrs. Keating,
Yes.
Mr. Kinkin,
Yes.
Mr. Kreckloff,
Yes.
Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Mayor Hellier.
Yes. And the next thing on is the decision paper, which is the installation of cameras in their property. And we are going to send that over and do it at the next meeting or subsequent meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to defer business item 7B, the decision paper on installation of cameras at the pier property. It is missing some significant information. As we were speaking before the meeting, it would be nice if, and Mr. Coleman had also mentioned, be nice to see a diagram of what the layout is to understand fully that 19 is indeed the right number. And no, we got no more than you did. And I think further, it needs to be clearer that, when we're comparing, the original proposal was to put 57 cameras on the pier and around the pier, under the pier, et cetera. That was the price of cameras only. The $60,000 quote is for the cameras, all the conduit and all the labor and installation and, electrical work that would be required to have a fully functioning system. So they're not really apples to oranges, but I believe before a council, this one or the next one, makes a decision on this particular topic, that there's more information that should be made available. And had Director Adair been here tonight, he may have been able to share that. So I make the motion, long story short, I make a motion to defer this until the next council meeting on November 14th.
Second.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
Mr. Coleman also made a good question, which I had. Has this been put out? We designed a system. Have we put it out for bids? Or did the designer do the bid? So I think we need to know that too, whether we're dealing with a single source or if this has been put out for multiple bids.
I think that's a question for Mr. Adair.
Yeah, and I also think that we need to know what they're gonna put these cameras up and they're gonna give us the source, but it's just like having Spectrum. If this is HTC, they're gonna charge us per camera and everything else that it's in. And it would be nice if we know what the monthly expenditure is gonna be on these cameras. And based on that amount, we should figure out whether we really need that many or what we need. But that will be done at a subsequent meeting. Next thing is the second.
We need to vote on the
Oh, yeah.
motion on the table.
You get a second?
I got a second. We got a second. Any further discussion on it before we vote? Sherry?
Mr. Drake,
Yes.
Mr. Holder,
Yes.
Mrs. Keating,
Yes.
Mr. Kinkin,
Yes.
Mr. Kreckloff,
Yes.
Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Mayor Hellier.
Yes. Next thing is the second reading of ordinance 230961, an ordinance of the town of Surfside Beach, to amend the business license ordinance of the town of Surfside Beach to update the class schedule as required by Act 176 of 2020.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept ordinance 23-0961 for second reading to adopt the latest revisions to the business license, Act 176, applicable to our chapter 4.
Second.
Okay, we have a second on that. Ms. Gruber, you want to come up and fill us in on it?
Yes, the only changes from first reading is we did some clarification under chapter 4,
Could you
8.6.
speak into the microphone?
8.6, we took off NAICS code varies because this is just about the billiards and pool tables. And then underneath section C, class 9.9, where it talks about deleting class 9.41 and 9.42, we added a statement of clarification that the business license fee applied to NAICS 454390 will now be based on the rate class applicable to the type of product being sold. And those are the only two changes.
Anybody have any questions? Sherry?
Mr. Drake,
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Holder,
Yes.
Mrs. Keely,
Yes.
Mr. Kinkin,
Yes.
Mr. Kreckler,
Yes.
Mr. Stamey,
Yes.
Mayor Howard.
Yes. Okay, the next thing is public comments, and these are public comments about any Surfside business conducted.
Hi, my name's John Hyatt. I live at 515 Lakeshore Drive. I'm a candidate for town council. Yesterday, I had a knock on the door and a nice lady brought my signs back that had been confiscated by the town. So I called to see why my signs have been confiscated, because I'm under the understanding that maybe signs can be outside of 3 feet, or another ordinance that says maybe they can be outside of 10 feet. But I got told that my signs got picked up because they were 27.5 feet inside the 27.5 feet width of the road. Apparently nobody bothers to give candidates any type of a map that tells us. I guess we're supposed to go down to the town hall and do our own research to find out where we can or cannot put signs. But I'd like to say a few things. We're in the middle of a campaign. Someone in that campaign has a liberty interest in campaigning in the public square, which has been defined by the Supreme Court as the streets, the sidewalks, and the parks of the town. I was deprived of my liberty rights to participate in the family festival. I couldn't have a booth. I'm being deprived of my right to be in the golf cart parade. Can't have a golf cart because it's got a political message. Yet, this is an election and there is nothing more precious, according to the Supreme Court before an election, than campaign political speech in the public square. I would encourage all of you, before we get a lawsuit for this town that we can avoid, maybe talk with the attorney and have him review what the town is doing regarding campaigning in the public square and make sure that you're doing what's legal. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Sean Fallon, 411 Cedar Drive North. I also lost signs, so, but I was grateful to get, somebody did bring a sign back to me. But that's not what I'm talking about here. I'm concerned about the presentation we got today. I know it's in the beginning stages, but you know what? We're not big city here. When you start planning out, and I've done this before in DC. I've planned out a whole building with furniture and everything else. We don't have to have the best of the best. You know, not every person needs an office with a table and 2 chairs to have their separate meeting places. So as we go forward, probably the next council coming in, we have to remind ourselves, we're not big city. We don't need this wish list. We don't have the money, and we've got to be conservative. You cannot continue to spend the residents' money. It's not the council's money. You all are residents. So you need to understand, we don't have to have the best of the best. And I'm a little confused with the growth numbers that were up here. We cannot grow. We don't have the space to grow. So I don't know where these numbers came from either. Kitchens, give me a break. Okay, that's, you get to the federal level, that you're starting to talk about, you can't just have a kitchen because you want it. There are regulations done by state, county, and so on. Let's see, another thing, I agree with the fitness rooms. There's no reason why the police department and fire department cannot use the same one. And when it said fitness for all employees, if you're talking about public works and all the way down the line, no, we do not have to spend that kind of money for all our employees. It's not a benefit. They get a paycheck. You know, their job doesn't require them to have physical needs like a police officer or a fireman. So I'm kind of very disappointed. They're talking to the heads, and it seems like this huge, big wish list that the department heads have, and they have to realize Surfside is a small town, and we want it to stay a small town. So as the progress goes on, you really have to think about, you've got to stop spending residents' money. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a race. It's a race. Landon Campbell, 714 Pine. Obviously, you're all aware of the campaign signs and the code enforcement officers asking residents to move the sign back behind the setback. I had a visit yesterday as well. I asked, we were instructed, we asked who instructed them to do this, and they said the town is getting complaints. Who told the enforcement to do this? This seems like a waste of our tax dollars. Don't we have more important work to do? I don't understand why this is suddenly an issue when businesses, realtors, and even our own KSBB has put signs in yards for years with no issue. While speaking to the officer, another resident drove by and said she had to remove signs from the town dumpster and return them to people. Again, who authorized this? This seems to be so very petty of our town to behave in this way, given all of the negative press over the pier and other decisions lately. When this situation happened yesterday, I was out in my yard staking out my front walk area and a patio that I'm going to do a paver sidewalk. I have a permit for it. I thought at first he was stopping by to check the permit and to inspect and talk through the project. That would have seemed reasonable. While we were discussing the request to move the signs, I let him know what I was working on and asked him if he would like to inspect and make sure all progress was per code. He declined. This is the job we need them to do, not act like HOA police. In my eyes, everyone on council is tone deaf to the majority of the citizens in this town. The signs and easement issue are a perfect example of how tone deaf you are. Citizens do not want this easement ordinance you are determined to pass. We need this town council to represent the members of this community, and they all campaigned to do when they first were elected. Last election, the key topic was making town more business friendly and addressing issues with code enforcement. seems based on recent events, we are going backwards, not forward. This town spends a lot of time patting yourselves on the back for a job well done. You have lost sight that you work for the citizens of this town, and they are the only people that should give value to the pat on the back. You work for me. My tax dollars pay your salary. And sorry, you get no attaboy from me. So tomorrow, put down your pettiness and start serving the citizens of this town. Thank you.
Tom Dodge, 8th Avenue South, Surfside Beach. There's a town in Florida called Surfside. We are not that town. Even people on council call it Surfside. It ain't Surfside, folks. It's Surfside Beach. It's about 4 times I've gotten up here and said the same thing. But anyway, how long is the pier? I know you can't answer questions, but maybe somebody in council comments can answer that. And my second question is, again, is it legal for children under the age of 21 to ride e-bikes without a helmet? I ride my golf cart every day. I see these kids going through stop signs. It just doesn't happen. And the other thing is, we have a goose problem. It's a traffic hazard, a big traffic hazard. And then we have this lady that feeds them and lays down with them and cuddles them. I truly think that we should have the geese removed from the town, take them over to Bucksport or put them out in the ocean somewhere. But it's a traffic hazard in this town, and somebody's going to be in an accident. Guarantee you. The first 45 minutes of the council meeting were a waste because nobody could hear you. Nobody heard what was going on in the back of the room or partially in the back of the room. So instead of spending money, $50,000, as Mr. Coleman said, spend about $10,000 and get some microphones that work, that the people can hear. It's really worthless coming to a council meeting if you can't hear what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else? Okay, with that, we'll have the town council comments. And we'll start out with Laverne.
Well, I don't have a whole lot to say, but I will address the signs. Signs have always been an issue during election time. When I ran twice, and both times I would have signs that would be out in the parking or out in the right of way, and they would take them up to the dumpster right outside the door here and leave them sitting not in the dumpster. And I find it hard to believe that they put them in the dumpster. They may have been in the dumpster, but I'll bet they got put there by a rival or something. I don't know, but that's beside the point. But the fact is that they should not be on the right of way. It's just, that's where it's town property. I know a lot of people disagree with that, but it is town property, and you should not be having political signs on town property. It needs to be on the private property. And I don't know, in some places it probably is 30 feet off the road. It just depends on the lot, really. But with that being said, good night and see you next time.
Mr. Kinkin.
Good evening. Tom, the pier is supposed to be as long as it was before, which is about 800 feet. It's the same footprint. We couldn't make it longer. We asked, couldn't make it longer. So it's the same footprint as the old pier. I agree with you on Goose too. I was a little disappointed with our presentation tonight because while it's nice to know what they think we ought to have in town hall, that's not going to be an issue for years. The issue is what can we do with the police department and to replace this room. That's what we've asked them to do. And hopefully when they come back, they will do that because that is our need. There's a reason for that, and I don't need to go into it, but there's a reason we need to do something on both issues. I appreciate everybody being here. I hope a lot of people are listening in, and I really hate that you can't hear us back there because I usually sound like a foghorn. So even without a mic, I thought people could hear me. But anyway, have a great, say we won't see you again until after the election. Get out, listen to people, take time to ask questions. They're having the thing Thursday night. Starts at 6, I believe, at the Holiday Inn.
6:30 to 8.
6 to 8:30.
6 to 8:30.
Okay, so if you can be there, evidently they're going to be able to broadcast it so you can stay home and listen. But listen to what these candidates have to say. They've worked hard. They want your vote, and we need informed voters. I went to the park yesterday and I got asked some questions that we've tried to answer multiple times, and you still don't. I don't know why. So be an informed voter. I want you to vote, but be informed. With that said, thank you for coming out, and God bless the Surfside Beach and the rest of it. And all of us. Thank you.
Mr. Stanley.
Glad to see everybody out, and I do like the comments, people getting up making comments about it. And the pier is the same length as the old pier. The only thing we did different was add another building on the pier, and it had been approved before the pier was torn down. It was going to be added on, so in that case, we got to go ahead and add it on to their new pier. I'm going to answer about the geese. I have them in my yard, and I wish it was in my neighbor's yard. So I'd be on board of getting rid of some of them, not all of them, but some of them. And again, all the candidates, I'm like everybody else. I appreciate you running. I know most all you guys is in here that's running, and I hope that you get out there and campaign, and I hope that you're knowing what you're talking about, because some things that I've heard from some of the candidates are not quite the way it works. They think it does, but it don't. And that disappoints me in some things. But like Bill said, be informed, listen to what they got to say, make a decision on that. Because when you get here and you look back, it's a different view from up here than it is from out there. I've been on both sides of this now because I sat out there in the same position that a lot of you was in, and I got pretty mad about this pier. I've worked hard, believe it or not, trying to get this pier done. There are a lot of things that went on that I don't appreciate and still don't like. And they will be consequences for some people. Believe it or not, they will be, and it's done been brought up and talked about. I want y'all to know that. And for this plan where we're working on now for this new court system and police department, this is the first draft, y'all. This is the first time that anything's been done, been said. We don't need a town hall right now, but it's a plan. They give us a 3-stage plan here that we can work on. We can work on building the police department. We can work on building the courthouse. We can work on building whatever we want. That's a plan. And I hope everybody understands that this ain't the final draft. This ain't nothing. This is just a first round look at something. to give us some numbers to what we might need. Don't mean we're gonna need them, but we might need them. But we also know that the police department is busting at the seams. Everybody knows that, and I hope these people that's getting out campaigning is telling people that our police department is full. It's full down there, y'all. We've took out part of their place that they had here. They're over at town hall now. They don't have offices to work in. It's full. We need to do something. Whether it's this plan or something else, we need to do something. We're saying that. All you county people get out there and work hard and get up here on the council where it's so easy, and all that money that we're making that one of the gentlemen referred to, I'm thinking about buying me a new car with it. Thanks.
Yeah, I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight and all those online. This may well mark the end of the term for 4 of us sitting up before you. November 7th, we'll decide who sits here instead. As Mr. Stamius said, it's not as easy as you may want to believe. We are governed by state law, which, by the way, the political signs are not allowed in right-of-ways as a matter of state law. It's under Chapter 57, should you want to go look for it. But we also have limitations under the Home Rule Act of 1976, where the state legislator delegated certain authority to individual municipalities to govern themselves. It's not carte blanche. It has restrictions. It has requirements that we fulfill. So as we've heard a couple others say, yes, try to be informed, understand what our limitations are, what we can and cannot do, what the role of council is, what the role of staff is. Understand what the restrictions under Robert's Rules of Order may be, and under other municipal codes as far as what constitutes a public meeting. We've talked often about, it's like we don't know what each other thinks when we come to a vote. And you're absolutely right, because any meeting we would have to talk amongst ourselves must be a public meeting. Even an email exchange is a violation of FOIA because it would constitute a meeting not in the public purview. So for new candidates coming up, and should you win the election, understand it's not as easy as getting together in a conference room over at town hall, having a few cups of coffee and get 7 members together and hash out and talk about, how do you feel about this? What's another alternative? That's an illegal act. But there are other things we can do to allow better discussion, better understanding, better collaboration amongst council. And I've recommended it to previous administration. But again, an individual council member cannot call a meeting. It has to come from the mayor, from the town administrator, or from a quorum of council to call a meeting. So again, you have to work with each other, you have to work with the administrator, you have to work with all of staff. So I would caution too much complaining about what we do, what we haven't done, what we should do, what we can do better, may come back and bite you should you be sitting up here the next time. Because there are restrictions, there are rules, there are laws we all must have to follow. So, but I do appreciate the support that I've been getting while I've been speaking with everybody as far as my campaign to be the next mayor. So I appreciate all of those that I have your support. And I wish all the candidates luck on November 7th. It will tell us what happens on November 14th. Thank you.
Mr. Drake.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and tuning in tonight. Back to the plan of the complex. I go back to the 0.36, 319 people by 2043. I think that we've got the property already. We're already across the street. We can put the court chamber over there. We can put the council chamber. The police department has needs. I understand that. I think we need to revamp and look at their needs, but we need to look at their needs in a financial way, not as a I want, I need. because they got a lot of needs, that's for sure. But, we got to be able to pay for them. We talked last time about the fire department. Everybody worried about the fire department. Got to have personnel for the fire department, 2 in, 2 out. I think some of that money could be well spent going there instead of to the police department. Nobody wants a fire. Nobody thinks about the fire department until it happens. And they sit there and you think, well, we're just paying them for nothing. You got insurance on your home, but you pay every year that you never have a fire. So we got to think about that. And all the shiny police cars, all the pretty uniforms, all the stuff. We got 20 or 21 police officers at this time. And we're going to gain more when we look at going to 319 more people by 43. I think we could really look at that. We need to look at that part. But the court chamber, I think we need the chamber, yes, but we can hold on to the other part. Thank y'all very much for coming out, and hopefully we'll see you again. Take care.
Mr. Holder.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming out tonight. And I also was affected yesterday. As soon as I heard about the sign and Mr. Coleman told me about it, I called within 10 minutes to town hall, was talking to them about going out picking up signs. Because I think we just have a few weeks, we can work together. And so hopefully we can get through this issue. I don't think having the signs, you put them in the right place when you put them out. All of us try to. But when somebody mows, they're gonna put them in a different location. And I guarantee that most of the signs that are getting picked up were not at the location they were put at the beginning. So, it is aggravating and one that I care about greatly because there is a lot of money there. I paid $6 a sign. So I know. But it was great that we had a different venue this week. And thank you, John, for leading that to have the venue for the coffee at the park. And I like that we do things different, we try different things. We should be doing more of time to get together and communicating with different people. And we should do everything we can to talk and communicate with the residents. And I am a resident too, and I know how I feel. And one thing I find interesting, I've talked to people, a lot of people, I've been spending a lot of time on South End. And they always tell me that they are unheard, their voice is unheard. And I don't like that. And I hope it can be more work put towards hearing everybody's voice in the future. So I want to thank you for everything, and I've enjoyed the last 4 years, and we'll see what happens in 2 weeks. Have a good night.
Well, for me, this is my last meeting. Well, it's not really my last meeting. We will have another meeting. And the next meeting we have, we'll open it up. Everybody will be sitting here. And basically what we'll do is we'll dismiss certain people. The first thing I'll do at the meeting is I will call the new mayor, whoever that may be, up, and we'll swear the new mayor in, and then I will resign my seat and leave. And then we'll do the same for each council member that's gonna not be here, and that will take place. So next meeting is not gonna be a real meeting. So I just want to thank you for letting me serve you for the last 4 years. As far as campaign signs, I had a bunch of mine taken too. And it was supposed to be that the Public Works picks them up, or I've never heard of, the building inspector picking them up, but I've always heard that Public Works picked them up. And I always heard that Public Works brings them right here where the recycling bins are near the thing and then lays them there. And like me, what I would do is I'd go around every couple of days and I'd look, and sure enough, there'd be a couple of my signs. Then I'd look around trying to remember where it was. And you know, it was a big game that ended up playing. But I am happy so far that this election hasn't been beating people up the way that it usually is, and that mass mailings and stuff like that, because we don't need that. We're a small town. And if anybody has a question, they should be able to go to somebody. And the part about coffee in the park, I think that was a great idea. I showed up myself just so that I could see how everything went. And this was an opportunity, whether you took it or not, for the residents to come in and talk to everybody and to get their voice heard, and whether it was listened to or not, but everybody had the opportunity to talk to I guess the old council was there too, because I was there and I saw Kinkin, I saw Stanley, you know. Where were you? But you know, it's basically, if anything's gonna get done in this town, everybody needs to work together. And, you know, working together is for the common cause. And the one thing that we have right now that we really need to take a look at is our money. And we made a concerted effort stating that we're not doing anything about money until the pier's completed. And then here the pier goes here and it goes here and it's not getting completed. But it will be completed shortly. And then we will take a reassessment, the new council will take a reassessment on all of the money that we have and where it's going and everything. And with that information, then you can decide what our plans are for the future and what we can budget for. And the one thing that we really haven't done is that if we do have a plan for a new council chamber, a new police department, a new town hall, or whatever we want to do, there's plenty of grant money that's available to do this. But that doesn't come easy. That takes a year or so to do it. So the planning part is the most important part. And the last thing I'll say is that on November 8th at 11:30 a.m., Town of Surfside Beach is going to hold a committee appreciation day and ask everybody that is on a committee to come here to the Civic Center, and we're going to have a luncheon. And I want to thank everybody at that time for helping us out and being part of the committee. Because before I was voted as mayor, they were telling me that committees are a pain in the butt, this and that. And you know what? Committees are a pain in the butt. But you know, it's the pain in the butt that you need to listen to, because that's where you get your good ideas and that's where you get what the residents want instead of what the administration wants. So with that, I wish everybody luck, and I wish all the candidates luck in their thing. And we'll see you on November 7th when we vote, and we'll see you the next council meeting when the lucky ones get appointed. So with that, I need a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mayor, make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
This meeting is adjourned.